Hey there, and welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. If you're looking to get more sales, more customers, master your marketing, and ultimately take control of your retail or e-commerce business, then you're in the right place. I'm Selena Knight, a retail growth strategist and multi-award-winning store owner whose superpower is uncovering exactly what your business requires to move to the next level. I'll provide you with the strategies, the tools, and the insight you need to scale your store. All you need to do is take action. Ready to get started? Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Now, I'll have to admit, my last couple of weeks have been, I'm just going to go out and say it, overwhelming. Like, my world has pretty much been thrown upside down. And thanks to a great team, things have kept moving along. But I have to admit, I have also chucked AI in to the mix to help me get by. I literally, don't tell anyone. On the weekend, my lawyer had drawn up a contract for a new employee, and there was a clause in there. And I was like, I actually don't know what that actually means. And so I put it into, I'm like, I obviously can't ask him because he's on the weekend. And I typed it in. And when I said, what does this mean in an employment contract? And it was like, well, I can't give you legal advice, but here's the general gist. I'm like, that makes sense. Yep. I wanted that in there, but I didn't know that that's how you worded it. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that you can write legal contracts with AI, but on today's episode, Josh Bachynski is one of the creators of ChatGPT. It is Josh. It is not very often my husband ever gets excited about a podcast guest. But when I told him you were coming on, he's like, do you understand like how big that is? I'm like, yeah. And he's actually a really lovely guy as well. So welcome to the show, Josh. I am super excited to find great ways that we can use AI to streamline our business and not necessarily write legal contracts.
Hi, Selena. I'm happy to be here. As you mentioned, my name is Josh Bachynski. I'm one of the early adopters of ChatGPT. I helped train the system, as many early beta users did, helping train the system. I've written like something like 50 or 100 megabytes of prompts in the system. So I'm a pretty avid user. I used it to build the platform for an AGI that I call self-aware artificial intelligence called Cassandra. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help everybody out with their AI questions.
I think the biggest thing that I'm hoping to get out of today's, apart from things that we can do, is the questions to ask. Because I've spent a lot of time asking stuff and it feels very robotic. And I've asked the same question in different ways and I still kind of get the same answer. So one of the things I would love to take away from you after writing, 50 megabytes of prompts is you clearly know how to ask the right questions to get the right answers. But before I do that, let me ask you, what do you use AI for every day? Because I expect you spend hours inside of ChatGPT and the associated AIs every day.
Yeah, sadly, I do spend that time there. As I said, I was an early adopter of the system. So I was using ChatGPT before it was ChatGPT. I was using it when it was just plain old GPT 3.0. ChatGPT is GPT 3.0 Instruct series with extra fine tuning and modeling on top of it. So, and that's when it got really famous. So I've been using it for quite some time. And I spend a lot of time in ChatGPT, a lot of time in Bing Chat, a lot of time with Google Bard and with generative search and Google when I can get a chance. Those are all great things to play with, great things to take on and to try out. The one I like to use for images, we were also discussing before, Selena, was Midjourney. And you can make some jaw-droppingly and gorgeous images in Midjourney, photographic quality, all the way from cartoons to photographic quality. So I'm ready to help people out. I'm ready to answer questions or try some test prompts if you like. I can do some demos. I can talk about it more at a theoretical or a planning level. I'm ready to go. Let's get her done.
Okay, let's start with the images because I'll be honest, I literally, apart from the things that you've told me, I haven't had a chance to try it out. But retail and e-commerce store owners spend a lot of time creating social media images, potentially doing things like post-processing photos for their businesses. Can AI help us with that? Like, I'll be honest, I spend a lot of time in Canva and I come out with still something that's crap, which is why we have a creative director. But is it possible? Is it possible to be creating things like social media images in seconds rather than minutes and hours for our businesses?
Oh yeah, completely. So, there's two really interesting tools right now. Midjourney is kind of, it's free to use for a certain amount. And then there's a paid version, which is very cheap. It's like $100 a year or something like that. So I signed up for the pro version right away. And then there's also Adobe Firefly. Those are probably the two premier ones as far as I know. Adobe is building an AI into their existing suite of Photoshop, Illustrator, those kinds of things. So, So if you want to make her smile bigger or the smile smaller, you want to open the eyes more, close the eyes more, it'll do all this facial reconstruction kind of on the fly. You could do it there. Midjourney could do a lot of similar things. It's a text prompt system. So if I want a picture of a woman on a sailing ship pointing at the horizon, that'll be done in 30 seconds. As long as you're not too picky, you'll have something within 30 seconds. And if you are picky, then you can click retry a couple of times. And so in a minute and 30 seconds, you'll have something that's exactly what you want. You can also have it zoom out. You can have it zoom in. Also, can you add
products? Can you add, like, if you had a product, could you add the product? Could you link to the product and say, put this handbag into an image of a woman on a sailing boat?
Yeah, you could do that. It would be a little bit more difficult to do that in Midjourney, but with a little bit of clever prompting and a little bit of clever use of the system, you can get it to do that. Adobe Firefly would probably be a little bit better for something like that, but you would have to have the suite. You'd have to have the Adobe package, however much it costs these days. I haven't even no idea. It's probably a few $100. I could be totally wrong with that. It could be over $1,000. Sometimes the Adobe licenses can get really expensive for some reason, but yeah, you could definitely try to do those kind of things. There's one thing you mentioned, sorry, I can't remember. It was fixing a smile or something like that. Yeah, you could do things like that in Midjourney. You could put an image in, and then you could start zooming out of that image or zooming into that image, manipulating that image in Midjourney to a limited extent. So where Midjourney really shines is just putting a prompt in and generating. And if you like, I can give you a live demo of how that works.
Let's do that. This is this is literally a first. If you are listening on the podcast, we're going to fast forward past through this, but go and watch the video because no one has ever done this before. This is amazing. Can I ask, you're going to show us how to do something, but could we potentially take someone's picture of a product off their website and you make it better? Is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah, that's possible. It depends what you mean by better, but yeah, I can definitely do things like that in the system. So here's just an example of some of the stuff that other people are generating. When you're a general user of Midjourney, you get to see what everyone else is doing, which at first I found really annoying and jarring. But then after a while, I started to really appreciate how people are constructing their prompts. And I learned really quickly how it was working. Now, I didn't generate this, somebody else did. But if you want to see some of the quality, here's a picture.
That looks real.
Obviously, of a person playing guitar. This is totally AI generated. And you can see there's a little bit of weirdness and a little bit of it, but it's getting pretty good. And you can use various sections of that and options there. So what I do though is I have the private version. So I'm going to go to, and I forgive you. Please forgive me, everyone, from seeing my personal Discord here. This is what I was doing here. I was generating a comic strip for social media. So I just, as you can see here, I said a comic strip with a dog plumber and a man plumbing client talking. So it was for a plumbing website. And I could take these images that it generated, I could get one, and all I have to do is I could put this in PowerPoint even. I could put this in various different applications, erase the kind of fake words it has here, and put in my own captions to make jokes really quickly, for example. That's a really good idea for social media stuff that you could do.
Here's just another You did this just by typing in a comic strip with a dog, a plumber, and a man, in brackets, plumbing client talking.
Yeah, that was it.
What does the Q2S750 mean?
This stuff is your settings. So I can't even remember. So your settings in Midjourney are it's here under /settings. And then I selected stylize very high. That's the 750 bit.
Right.
And the Q2, I think, is fast mode. I'm not sure. It's one of these things in the settings. So you don't have to remember these switches, these command line switches. And if you're an old DOS user like me, you might like the command line switches, or if you're a Linux user, you might like the command line switches. But you don't have to use them at all. You could just go into the settings and adjust however you want to do it. I'm on the latest version of 5.2. When the 5.2 came out, I generated this, and you'll have to forgive me for being remedial, or maybe a heterosexual male, one or the other. And you have to forgive it for the images it came out with. It does produce people of color and BIPOC as well quite often. It just happened to be all white people when it did this, but this is what it did out of the box for a beautiful woman. So again, I'm making no comments as to whether you agree with the prompt, but I think you will agree that the quality of the image is quite stunning.
It looks like a real photo.
Yeah, it's photographic quality, and so I could do the same. I could do imagine a sexy man. It might not like the word sexy. It tends to block that. So I'll just
handsome.
say beautiful. Handsome. Okay. Sure, handsome man. And you'll see what it generates here. It put my command line switches in of my settings I already have set, and it might take a little bit while. It depends on how many people are using the system right now. But let's say I wanted to get a nicer version of one of these things. See these things down here? I could do different versions of 1, 2, 3, or 4, or I can upscale 1, 2, 3, or 4. So let's say this is the one I liked. I could say upscale 1, and it'll generate that upscale actually pretty quickly. You can see it's already generating my man pictures. And so here's the image. See how big it is? It's already ready to use. And all I have to do is I could plug this right into PowerPoint and just put a white text box over this and make the whatever joke I wanted to make. Looks like it's a dog groomer or something, or I'm not really sure.
maybe not the plumber, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can see plumbing in the background. You can see kind of how it thinks. It's like, oh, you wanted plumbing in the background. It doesn't quite understand what you want. And there's ways to ask it. I could say actually define. I could say define, or was it definition? What is it? Describe. That's what it is. Describe. I can say describe, and you attach an image, and it'll tell you what it thinks that image is about, and you can learn how to prompt it better that way.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to your beautiful men, because forgive me if I'm wrong. First guy is kind of, back on your beautiful man, the first guy kind of looked a little bit Pirates of the Caribbean. Johnny Depp. Kind of, sort of. Yeah. The one underneath, kind of, sort of a young Brad Pitt. So I personally can see how it's kind of pulled, like sexiest men alive type thing, and done its magic. I see a little bit of your countryman there. Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. I see a bit of Hugh Jackman there.
We both think the same thing. So it's clearly pulled it off something.
Yeah, well, this is what it's coming from, right? It's machine learned based off of us. It's machine learned off of what we think these images are. It learns. The system is trained off a giant corpus of images that get automatically recognized, and that gets by AI as well. So AI is doing this kind of almost all the learning on its own, and then humans come in after the fact, and we're using it. And every time I choose which one I want, like if I like U1. I'll say upscale number 1 because it's a little bit more photogenic ready. These are just a tiny bit graphic imaged. And I say, boom, voila. Here is, top 10 best wines to drink in Italy. Or, like you can use this image on so many different web pages, that's related. This year's in fashion or whatever it is, and it's a little GTA 5. I could see a little bit of the video game style in the texturing and the coloring a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you have so far, there's no, I'm not a lawyer, can't give legal advice, but so far there's no known copyright issues of using this. You can just go ahead and use it however you see fit. Now you could plug this into other AI tools to sharpen it, to blur it, to change it and do different various things about it.
So I'm guessing if you liked this picture and you went, oh, I don't want him in a bar, you could say, I like this person, you put him at the beach. Can you do that? I definitely could do that. So what I would do is I would steal this image off of Discord and I'd plunk it here on my desktop. Then what I do is I have to bring it back into the Discord system. So I would say, okay, /imagine, and then I would bring, oh no, hold on. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. I don't get to demo this often. So I have to drag it into
first I have to drag it into Discord. So now this is an image in the Discord system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can only hold so many based on your account and how big your account is on Discord. But then I right click and I say copy link. Now that I have that link, now I say imagine, and I put the link in, and I'd say handsome man at the beach. How about we'll try that? And I have to do --IW image weight 2. So I have to tell it, use the image very strictly. So I want it to be this man as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully I did that correctly. I remembered the command line switch. And hopefully it puts him at the beach. Now, other AI tools would be better to do that. Adobe Firefly could do that for you in 3 seconds. In Mid-Journey, I'm going to have to play with this a bit. You're going to see what it's going to come out with. Mm-hmm. And it won't look exactly like him, and he may not be at the beach, but I could eventually play with it and get him to the beach, or someone who looks very similar to him. Again, I paid $90 for the year for this. You could do this for free, ostensibly. So it really depends on how much you want to play with it. You see, it's not quite going to take him out of the room that easily. I would need to play with it quite a bit.
Okay.
I could also find a source image that's close to what I want.
Okay.
And I could couple them together. I could do that too.
Okay. I feel like we could fall down the rabbit hole of using this for images, and we need to get onto some other things. So this is blowing my mind. Thank you very much. And I feel like this is going to be something that people will procrastinate with and spend a lot of time on. Guys, do that in your own time. But let's maybe move to some of the more, I guess, linear ChatGPT type things that we're using, text-based. How can you envision retail and e-commerce store owners using the regular chat AI to help them streamline their businesses, not necessarily look at legal contracts?
Well, that's actually a great usage of it, right? So where these large language models, these generative AI text models really shine is in collating the crystallized wisdom of crowds that is ended up in the corpus. So they're very good generalists, right? They're polymaths, these AIs. So think of it like someone who kind of has read everything. They're not really a specialist in any particular thing, but they do really well in consolidating the wisdom of crowds. So I get them to write my calls to actions, my CTAs. They do really well with that. I get them to describe to me what the tone of a message, if they think it's a good tone, a bad tone, if they think it could be better for sales, could be worse for sales. They're actually surprisingly good at those kind of soft skills.
Can we jump into that? Can you just tell me a little bit, like, what are you asking it? Are you taking the copy that you wrote and popping it into ChatGPT? And then what are some prompts? Did you just literally say, is this a good sales message?
Yeah. I would actually say something more like, given best practices for sales, rate how well this is selling on a scale of 1 to 10, and tell me the top 5 things it's doing. And it will break it down in that way. And then in that kind of way, you could see, is it selling well? Is it selling poorly? Is it too aggressive? Is it not aggressive enough? Is it, too sensational? Is it too wordy? Is it, then I can ask it, in terms of the writing quality, is the writing quality appropriate to this kind of demographic? And it will say yes or no. And how could I make it more appropriate? Give me examples. And it will do things like that. Like it's semi-specialized. What I would avoid for text models is I avoid asking it for stock tips. I would avoid asking it for what crypto to buy. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I've seen people doing it so much with that. My social media is filled with people saying, ChatGPT, give us the top 10 stocks to buy in 2023. And I'm like, it doesn't know that. It has no secret knowledge in terms of stocks or crypto. And
it's not even operating on 2023 knowledge, is it?
Exactly. No, it's not. It was last trained in March 2021.
Yeah. So it's two years plus old in terms of up-to-date information. So what you're trying to say is it may not be on point today, but if you're using it in general places in your business, then that is what you can use it for. I have a question for you because I like to play around with it quite a bit. And I've really struggled to be able to put in my whole customer demographic and get it to understand. So something that I would write is, I'm going to upload my customer demographic for you. And once I have done that, I need help with writing some Facebook ad copy, for example. Do you understand? Chat says yes. I upload the customer demographic, and before I've done anything, it just spits out something random that is not related to the question or the customer, or it might say, oh, this customer would do X, Y, Z. But what would be the correct prompt if you're, let's go with Facebook ads. We need to write some Facebook ads.
Sure.
What do we need to ask it, and what do we need to give it?
So for the audio podcast, I'll give an answer, and then for the video, I'll give a demo. How about that?
Thank you.
Sure, not a problem. So in general, what you want to do is you're going to want to take your customer demo. You want to have it in straight text and copy it, and you want to paste it into the prompt and say, here's a customer demographic. I want to write Facebook ads for this. And then you want to say demographic. And I literally put dotted lines. I put demographic dotted lines, and I break it out. So the attention module, it's called, it can find it, and later on when it needs to find it. And I say customer demographic. I put it in there. Then I put beneath Facebook ad to write. Make sure the ad is engaging, and it's going to whatever goals you want for the Facebook ad. Make sure it has the best in terms of best practices of calls to action and CRO. Write this Facebook ad for the above demo, selling blah, or getting them to click for this reason or whatever. And it'll do a pretty darn good job of that. You just have to make sure that you don't paste in too much, and because it has a token limit, it's called. It can only take so much information at once. And the more you paste in and the longer you chat with it, the more forgetful it gets as you go on. But otherwise, if you follow that kind of recipe I talked about, and if it's really, it'll do a pretty good job. And if it's not, give it an example. It's called a few shot prompt or a one shot prompt. The shots are examples. So it's a few example prompts. So if you're like, okay, here's an example customer demo, and make sure it's perfect. It's the perfect essential paradigm of what the kind of demo you're going to paste in there. It's not a weird example. It's a very perfect example. And then say, here's the example of the kind of ad I want you to write, and make sure it's a perfect example of exactly how you want it written, both in terms of form and content, in terms of style and what you're saying. And then it will do that. It'll stick pretty close to it. It'll do a pretty good job. But if you know just how to whisper to it, just right. It's like I'm happily married and have been for many, many years, so I haven't had to do this for a very long time. But it's I imagine it's much like knowing exactly what to say to a date on a first date, or I guess a job interview too. It's like there's a way to whisper to the other person across the table and say the right thing and not say the wrong thing, which before I was married, I tended to say the wrong thing more often than the right thing. But it's kind of like that. You got to kind of be like an AI whisperer. And so practice makes perfect. So that's what I would do in general. And if you have some actual demo information, or I could generate it on the fly if you don't have any handy, let's do a demo, and I'll see if I can get it to work for you.
Okay. So those of you who are on the video, the first person to put a product into the chat is the one that Josh will write you a Facebook ad for. So are you ready?
Well, yeah. While we're waiting, go ahead, put that in the chat. And it got the guy pretty close, didn't it? He looks pretty much the same in all these pictures.
He looks a little bit more cartoony now rather than a real person. And it didn't really get the beach though, did it?
No, it didn't get.
Maybe it looks like he's in Sorrento rather than.
Yeah, the beach is in the background. It's like he's in Morocco somewhere or something. The beach looks like it's in the background, but I see that's because I have my style cranked really high. If I turn my style down, it'll be less stylized.
Okay.
And it could be more photographic quality. And if I wanted it more photographic quality, I'd say model photographic quality. I could even get into the photographic lenses you should use and the type of lighting.
Wow. All right. If you go into the chat, Josh, Kim has put a personalized red velvet Christmas stocking.
I see. Okay, so this is the link for the Christmas cart?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to open up ChatGPT. This is the product, a personalized dark red velvet Christmas stocking, $34.95. You can add the person's name onto it.
Okay. And so we're going to take the product description and we're going to try to create an ad for it is what we're going to do?
I think so. I feel like, I'm going to be honest, Kim, that is not the best product description. Maybe we rewrite the product description first, because I know that ChatGPT can do that well. And then it's her biggest seller. Well, there you go. Maybe we can do some A/B testing on that. Let's just see what ChatGPT comes up with if we change the text, and let's write an ad for what we have.
Okay. So here's the product. I'm going to take the price and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. Okay. So here I was, I'm talking with venture capitalist people. So I was actually asking it to explain to me what the heck he was talking about, which is quite useful. And when you come to the system, there's 3.5 and 4. Mm-hmm. Now, if I did 4 and I did browse with Bing, I would actually be able to take that URL that your listener sent, and I could say, go to this page, read everything about it, write me a Facebook ad for this. I could do it that way. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm going to use, but 4 smarter, but it costs more money.
Oh, it's like $20 a month. Like,
it's not that. Yeah, it's not that expensive. You're absolutely right. It is slower. If I wanted to do it with 3.5, you could also do browse with Bing on 3.5 that way, or I can show you how everyone else would do it just for free if they're not even paying. I would say, okay, this AI will write an engaging Facebook ad for a product to maximize click-through. Follow best practices for CTA and CRO on this ad. I'm going to say product description. I'm going to get rid of this. And I could even give this information here with 4 reviews. For product description. Okay. Create a stunning Christmas keepsake with our personalized dark red velvet Christmas stocking. Crafted from soft velvet, the stocking features a combination of vibrant. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Write the Facebook ad for this product now.
Dun, dun, dun.
So it's taking that information and wow.
It's even put emojis. Oh my gosh. Can we screenshot that, Josh?
Sure.
I would love to put a picture of that into the Facebook group. The headline, create magical memories with our personalized dark red velvet Christmas stocking, ! Christmas emojis. Make this Christmas truly special with our exquisite personalized stocking. Crafted from soft velvet, it combines the richness of dark red with the purity of crisp white, adorned with a delightful ribbon and red pom-pom details. Raved about by our customers with a perfect 100% rating, our stocking is a true crowd pleaser. Limited time only, $34.95. The best part, you can make it uniquely yours by personalizing the cuff with the name of your choice. The price includes personalization, so no extra costs. Simply select the text style and color and add the name you want. It's that easy. Hurry! Order now to ensure your loved ones have a special place to find their surprises this Christmas. Then there's some more stuff. Honestly, because that product description was very descriptive in terms of product, we could just adjust that. But realistically, that's not a bad ad.
It definitely used limited time offer. It's fear. It's fear of missing out.
Yep.
It's using some of the top 5 psychology power words. It's talking about the ratings. It's building the value. I think it got the sales value proposition down pat. It wants to insert a call to action button. It depends if this is your style or not. If this is what you wanted, I gave it some very, very generalized. But it's interesting how it picked up on all those little details. Because I told it to use the to maximize click-through, and I told it to follow the best practices for CTA and CRO, aka the best practices for writing calls to action, the best practices for conversion rate optimization. So, if you want that only to be 100 words, or you want it to be kind of different, you can definitely change it. But not a bad try first time out.
And I think if you I know that Kim was saying that's their bestseller. Personally, I think you could use a lot better descriptive words in there. That's just my opinion. But given what it had, that was pretty good. But you could just move some of that stuff around, because some of that information was not necessarily stuff that people would have wanted in a Facebook ad. But that raved about by our customers with a perfect 100% rating, that is gold. I love the fact that it even kept that in and put 4 stars. I would have thought it said 5 stars. Little things like that, you can just go and adjust.
Yeah, it got confused because we said the word 4 here.
4, yeah.
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 All right. What else can we use it for, Josh? We're writing Facebook ads. We are looking at we've talked about the fact that you can use it to rewrite product descriptions. How would you rewrite the product description for this?
Sure. So let's do that. This AI will rewrite product description.
I didn't know you could go and just retype over the top. Oh my gosh.
There's a little editing button here. You just click that. And I'm gonna largely, you could have started again, but and you could, if you did start again, this would have saved it on its own, and then you could have started another one. Mm-hmm. But it'll save the versions here. There'll be little arrows to save the versions on the left-hand side. So I'll say this AI will rewrite product descriptions to make them maximally engaging, to maximize click-through, to maximize sales.
And will we put our customer avatar in here?
We could tell them who our target demo is for sure. Mm-hmm. I could have asked what their target demo was to begin with, and so I would have it, and then then I would use it to build this. But let's finish this off. So the product,
it's a Christmas stocking. It is kind of one of those things where nearly everyone is your customer, right?
Yeah, definitely. Title. You get the price, even though it's configured that on its own. Please rewrite now. And if I gave it a lot of information and I thought it might get confused, I could have repeated this. Please rewrite now. Remember to remember to make it maximally engaging, to maximize sales. Remember to follow best practices for CTA and CRO on this. I could have repeated that down here as well. Yeah. So let's see how it rewrites the product description. We could even, let's just try this, and then I'll show you some extra tips and tricks we could use if we don't like what it does. Let's see. Oh, so it's done a very long product description.
Ooh, yes.
So it says, introducing our exquisite personalized dark red velvet Christmas stocking, a must-have keepsake for the most magical time of the year. Crafted from luxurious soft velvet, this stocking is a perfect blend of elegance and festive cheer. With its captivating combination of vibrant dark red and crisp white hues, adorned with adorable ribbon and charming red pom-pom details, it will truly make your holiday decor shine.
I love that.
And so it depends. Do you want a long one or a short one? If you're like, this is too long, I can go back to previous versions of the prompt here. So that's where you would get the previous version. So it's all saved for you. It's got a version history. Mm-hmm. Then I would click on this again. I'm going to say, please write now. Please keep it approximately the same length. And let's say, I'm also going to say, please, I'm going to say writing style.
I like the way you say please. I say please and thank you to it as well.
That's because we're Canadian and Australian, because we're very polite people. That's probably the British influence there. Writing style, use active tense, shorter sentences. Use active tense, shorter sentences. Use a high-end magazine style.
Oh, yeah.
And then I could even tell it what magazine, if I had a particular one that's popular enough 2 years ago that would have thousands of those kinds of web pages in its database.
Yeah, like Vogue or Harper's Bazaar or something fancy pants.
Would you recognize Vogue or Harper's Bazaar?
Yeah. Vogue, definitely.
Like Vogue.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's see how well it does it. So it definitely didn't keep it the same length.
No, it wasn't listening to me, a bit like my family.
Oops, I said regenerate. No, I didn't need to do that. Stop generating. Better where same. Never mind. I'll go back here and edit it and say, please keep it probably the same length.
I would say maybe 100 words or 150 words.
Yeah, 100 to 200 words. And I'll put that last so it is more.
So how often you put something and where you put it is quite important.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That is good to know.
I'll put it last and see if it can do it. I might have to remind it again. Yeah. I'll have to remind it again here. Although look at the ASCII art it did for the stars. You gotta love that. Maybe Vogue articles could be quite long, and this is another reason why it's doing it. But
okay.
So Selena, go ahead, give it a read and see if it reminds you of Vogue at all.
Indulge in the luxurious charm of our personalized dark red velvet Christmas stocking, the epitome of elegance and sophistication. Meticulously crafted from our sumptuously soft velvet, this opulent stocking boasts a captivating blend of deep, alluring red and pristine white, adorned with delightful ribbon accents and charming red pom-poms. What sets this stocking apart is its unique personalization feature. Imagine the delight on your loved one's face as they discover their very own name artfully showcased on the cuff. It's a remarkable touch that adds a touch of magic and makes this stocking an extraordinary heirloom. I feel like Martha Stewart could read that.
I like you reading it. You have quite a nice reading voice. Yeah. So I noticed the alliteration, and it's definitely better written, I think, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think it definitely is calling out to people who have a higher expectation of a product. Those words like sumptuous, opulent, meticulous, unique, remarkable, all of those things. If that's your customer, then they're going to choose this just on the wording alone. If that's not your customer, it's going to be like, oh, I could probably, if you have like a customer who buys on price and they might be thinking, well, this is the fancy one, where's the cheaper one?
Yes, that would be my family. Yes, for sure. So, and that's because we told it to use high-end magazine style like Vogue, for sure.
Yeah.
So that would be one way to get towards the demo, if that's your demo. The other way would be to have, here's our demographic, and it would be able to parse that data. I think it would be able to figure it out.
I think that is awesome.
Yeah, I think it could be useful. You could just be like, I'm out of ideas. You could just say, I'm out of ideas how to market my red velvet stocking. No one is buying. That's not what's happening. Your listener mentioned that this is their bestseller, so I'm not saying that's what's happening, but just for a fictitious example, no one is buying. Give me ideas what I can do - surprise me. Here's a pro tip. When you tell it to surprise you, it will really start thinking as far outside the box as it can. Otherwise, and this is I don't want to toot my own horn, but this is really, really a pro tip that not a lot of people realize. The bane of generative AI is the predictability, the race to the bottomness of it, right? It's like, it's the lowest common denominator. Statistically, it'll take whatever that is. If you say surprise me is where you start to get, as I asked, surprising results. So let's see what it says and if it's on point in any way. So it said, I'd be happy to help you with some creative ideas to market your red velvet stocking. Here are a few unexpected suggestions to surprise and attract potential buyers. One, influencer collaboration. Reach out to popular influencers or bloggers who align with your target audience. Limited editions collector series. Create a limited edition series of red velvet stockings. Social media contest. Not a bad idea. Launch a contest on social media platforms where participants have to share their most creative or heartwarming holiday memories. Festive pop-up shops. Set up a temporary pop-up shop in a high-traffic area. Collaborative partnerships, partner with other businesses that complement your red velvet stocking, such as local bakeries, gift shops, and luxury brands. That's actually not a half bad idea.
I actually really like that one. You could be selling to the bakeries. I know the company that I know, Kim and Deb, and they could wholesale their stockings to local bakeries if they, take orders from those bakeries. I love this idea.
That's not a half bad idea. I find that when I brainstorm with ChatGPT, it more often than not comes up with ideas that I hadn't considered. And at least one of them is like that was actually interesting. Surprise influencer gifting. Identify a few key influencers or celebrities who have a significant following and might appreciate your red velvet stocking. Send them a personalized stocking as a surprise gift without expecting anything in return. The element of surprise and genuine gesture could lead to organic social media posts or mentions, generating buzz and interest among their followers. Another way you could do that is on Cameo as well. I had a podcast once. It was called Comic versus Philosopher. And you know how I got all the comedians on? I went on a Cameo and I found ones that had big social media, and I paid their $40 or $50 or whatever it was to get a personalized message. Now, technically, this is against the terms of service, so you're not supposed to do this. I'm not a lawyer, can't get legal advice. This is probably illegal. Probably not supposed to do this. Or it's not illegal. It's against their terms of service. But more often than not, they would respond. A bunch of them were like, yeah, sure, I'll be on your podcast, because I paid the $80. And I said, if not, and the way I worded it, I was like, I'd love it if you guys came on my podcast. And if not, roast us for being so silly. And so I get content out of it either way. I wasn't wasting the $80, but some would come on the podcast and then they would roast us. I had some legends roasting us. I had Bob Saget, God rest his soul, roasting us for 5 minutes. It was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. He was talking about the size of our various genitalia and things of that nature. It was hilarious. Bob Saget was hilarious on that. Also, Gilbert Gottfried, we had him roasting us there. It was great. So they didn't come on, they roasted us, but some of them did come on as well. You could try this idea with maybe Cameo, send them a gift. You never know how well it works. And the final one that has here is charity collaboration, partner with a charitable organization or a local children's hospital during the holiday season. Again, that's an oldie, but a goodie. That's a really good idea there too.
Yeah. People love to feel good, especially if they don't have to do anything. Like they were already buying the Christmas stocking, and now I'm going to feel even better because a portion of my money was donated to somewhere else. Obviously, when we're going to do something like that, we're factoring in that money into our cost of goods. Please be sure to do that. Okay, this has been absolutely amazing to me. I would love it if you have some ideas on how we can use it. We know how to use it for creating content. We know how to use it to create ads and to fix up our product descriptions. I would love it if you could give me some ideas on how we can use AI to streamline our business processes.
Sure. So, some specific examples would probably help give a good answer. It really depends on the business process you want to streamline. AI is really good at classification. You could say, what's the tone of this? What's the problem with this text? How can this text be better? How can this message, be clearer? Those kinds of business processes. Streamlining is like, here's a bunch of notes from a meeting. Could you collate this? It could do that to a limited extent. The new ChatGPT can take in around 20 pages. So you could paste in about 20 pages of notes and be like, or like meeting notes or something like that, and say, please collate this. And if you had the plugins in ChatGPT with Zapier plugged in, for example, you could say, and please email this out to everybody in the company or everyone in this particular email list. So those kinds of possibilities are starting to happen now. And that's where AI is going. These kinds of co-pilots are going to be built into every single piece of software we use. So learn how to use ChatGPT and get an idea of what AI can do for you now if you want to be an early adopter, or just wait a few more months to a year, and it's going to be built into Outlook. It'll be built into Gmail. It'll be built into Zoom. It'll be built into
I have it built into Zoom. I have Fathom. Oh my gosh, guys. If you have remote employees or if you have meetings with your team, I discovered Fathom Note Taker AI. Not only does it keep a recording of my meeting, which saved my bacon because Zoom corrupted on a podcast the other day, but Fathom had the recording. It also gives you a transcript, and then it gives you an AI summary of the conversation as well. Obviously, sometimes you got to go through it and you got to tweak a few things, But that's amazing. Like just being able to have that with no extra work can save, someone in our business hours instead of saying, you have to watch this, you have to go through this. It's like, here's what we talked about. Here's the dot points when we have, because it knows if you're asking a question, it will highlight the dot point of the timestamp for that. And it just makes everything so much easier. And I think it's knowing where all these things are without getting overwhelmed. I know that Mavis, who's on this call, we used it to create a job description for one of her employees, and it did a really good job to do that. Mm-hmm. Do you reckon it would do a good job if we asked how to fire somebody? Like, what do I say to somebody who I need to fire?
Sure. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go in here. I'll make a new chat.
Okay.
And I'll go to GPT-4 because it's a bit smarter. And so we'll see. It'll be a bit slower, but I think the quality might be a bit better.
Okay. We need to fire someone for poor performance.
Sadly, we need to fire someone for poor performance.
I'm literally asking this question on behalf of one of our mastermind members. So that's where this one came from. No one on my team is getting fired right now.
That's nice to say. That's good to say. just to put them at ease. Okay, so here's the thing. I could say, sadly, we need to fire someone for poor performance. Write the letter. I could do anything. I could do any number of these things. I could say, write the letter. I could say, what are the top 5 tips to keep in mind? I could.
What do I say?
Sure. I could just say, what do I say?
Yeah.
And it'll give me something back. However, it'll work better if I say, this is what this person is like, or this is what this person did, or give it a little bit more context and information, and it'll even surprise you how much more tailored it is. And then we want to let them down very easy without giving them annoying platitudes, or that's my opinion. I could have already asked it, what are the top 5 things I need to remember when letting someone go? Okay, and it would have already told us what to remember that we didn't even think of. So you could do planning to construction, or you can do construction to planning, and you can alternate back and forth on those 2 main modes of what text does.
Okay. So let's say the person is taking a lot of unpaid time off.
Okay, that's good context.
They aren't getting their tasks done in the allotted time.
Done on time, sure.
And they're passing their tasks off to other employees. They're mooching.
Okay, great. That's a bit more context. So now do we want to say, how do I let them down easy, or how do I?
Yeah, they've been with the business a long time. Yeah, how do I let them go easily and not feel horrible in the process? I feel like that's the key part. Does anyone else feel like that's the key part, and not feel horrible in the process? What do I say?
Yeah, sure. What do I say? Okay, that's a good context. So we'll see how smart it is. And it says, letting someone go is never an easy task, especially if the person has been with the company for a long time. However, it's important to remember that this is a decision made in the best interest of the company and its employees. Here are some tips on how to approach this situation. And so now it's starting to give tips. It says, 1, be prepared. Before you hold the meeting, make sure you're prepared with all the necessary documentation and information. This should include a clear record of the individual's performance issues, instances of unpaid time off, and examples of tasks that have been passed off to other employees. It's important to have this information available in case the employee asks for specifics. So that's a good point. The employee might get defensive, understandably, and be like, prove it. Where did I do this? 2, be direct and compassionate. Begin the conversation by acknowledging the person's tenure and contributions to the company. Then clearly and directly state the purpose of the meeting. You could say, I want to acknowledge the time and effort you've put into your role here. However, the reason we're meeting today is because there have been ongoing issues related to your performance and attendance.
Oh, I like that.
3, discuss the reasons. After stating the purpose of the meeting, provide a detailed explanation of the reasons for the termination. You might say, Over the past, insert time period here, there have been consistent issues with your attendance and meeting deadlines. There are also instances where your tasks have been passed off to other team members. We've discussed these issues previously, but unfortunately, there hasn't been improvement. Notice that the AI presumes that there's already been discussions going on.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's its subtle way of saying that should have happened.
Yes.
By the way. 4, be respectful and empathetic. Remember that this is likely to be a very tough moment for the employee. Keep your tone respectful and try to empathize with their feelings. Acknowledge the difficulty of the situation. 5, give them a chance to respond. Once you've explained the situation, give the employee an opportunity to respond or ask questions. This should be a two-way conversation, and allowing them to voice their thoughts can help them process the information. That's a really good step, a really good point. I did study a lot of psychology in my MA and the bit of my PhD that I did. And I also have taken therapy certification courses after the fact. Giving the person who's getting tough news the chance to talk it out, so to speak, is actually a really good piece of advice. So giving them a chance to respond, even if one might think that this is a waste of time, like I'm firing them and that's it, that there's nothing they could say anymore, it would go a long way to mending fences and letting them down easy, which is what you asked the AI to do. Giving them time to talk, even if it's just what some might consider to be a waste of time or useless talk. It's not if you want to let them down easy, giving them time to respond and talk. Yeah. 6, discuss the next steps. Make sure to discuss any logistical details such as the end date, severance packages, continuation of benefits, etc. Also, let them know how the news will be communicated to the rest of the team, if it will be at all. Again, very good points. And notice how the AI is saying subtly here, this should all be done.
Yeah.
If you want to let them down easy.
And it'd be quite easy to overlook that when you're in this position, because all you're worried about is, especially with a business that doesn't have a huge team, you're stressing about just having the conversation. You're not even thinking about, and how are you going to get this person's task allocated to somebody else, and you're going to have to hire. This stuff is probably not even in your brain space. So having it there is just that subtle prompt of, okay, this is the way it's going to be clean. This is the way this is next level stuff. This is how I'm going to be a CEO and handle this respectfully and diligently.
Yeah, because you never want to burn a bridge. Who knows? In the future, you might want to hire them back.
Yeah.
You don't want to make an enemy. You don't want to piss them off so much they're going to make a rival company, and then there's trouble. And who knows? They might have passwords and keys that are important. So you always catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Is the old saying. Or at least that's a Canadian saying. I don't know if you guys say it over there. But 7, end on a positive note, if possible. End the meeting on a positive note by wishing them well for the future. You can also offer to provide a reference if you feel comfortable doing so, focusing on their strengths and positive contributions. And then speaking to the prompt as you asked it above about how you feel about it, it says, remember, it's completely normal to feel uncomfortable during this process. You're making a difficult business decision, and it's okay to feel empathy for the person involved. Again, another subtle hint that it's okay to feel empathy, aka feel some empathy for the person involved.
I feel like this is exactly what I would be saying to you guys on a coaching call. However, you also have the responsibility to the rest of your team and the overall health of your organization. That's exactly something I would say.
Yeah. By treating the individual with respect and dignity, you can ensure the process is as fair and compassionate as possible. And so if we take a step back and look at the meta of how good this message, this coaching is from ChatGPT, this is where ChatGPT shines. Like this is age-old wisdom that's been around since the dawn of businesses of how to do this right.
So that's a wrap. I'd love to hear what insight you've gotten from this episode and how you're going to put it into action. If you're a social kind of person, follow me at @TheSelenaKnight and make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if this episode made you think a little bit differently, or gave you some inspiration, or perhaps gave you the kick that you needed to take action, then please take a couple of minutes to leave me a review on your platform of choice. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more independent retail and e-commerce stores just like yours that we can help to scale. And when that happens, it's a win for you, a win for your community, and a win for your customers. I'll see you on the next episode.